with Mr. Agbornduku Eret, Honorable Agbornduku Eret. Is going to be taking us back to our roots from different perspectives by using poetry. He's going to be telling us the importance of going back to our culture and tradition, and also using poetry to explain how love was expressed, how many aspects of our lives were actually being implemented from different perspectives. But we are also going through him to look at the experiences that the people are living in the southwest and northwest regions since the wake of the Anglophone crisis, expressed through poems, very short and enticing poems, in this book titled Roots Revisited, a collection of Ejagham poetry and other poems. This is the book. I'm sure we are going to explore the book, and now I'll tell you a little bit about the author of this book, Roots Revisited. Currently, he's a retired college administrator. Agbornduku Eret is an excellent teacher for over 36 years in both French and English Cameroon. He was born and bred in Inokun, Ekoneman Awa, Funum in Eyumojok subdivision of Manu division, and Ekang of the Akampa local government area of the Cross River State of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, his mother's village. Born around 1957, he attended St. Anthony School, Memphis, and Maria Goretti School, O2, CS Inokun, and completed primary education in CS Kembong. He obtained his ordinary levels at UCS Bachoakagbe and advanced level at JHS Mamfi. He then proceeded to the Lone University in Cameroon in those days, in Yaoundé, where he obtained a BA Honors in Modern Letters and postgraduate in American Commonwealth Literature, and lately a PhD in Management and Leadership Studies from the American Theological College and University of Arizona, United States of America. With the advent of the University of Boya, he took courses in law and comparative literature. Okay, we are very happy to have you, Doctor, on the Prime Hour for the very first time. Thank you very much.
Pleasure is mine.
To note that you are coming all the way from Kumba, chief town of Meme Division.
Yes.
Okay, to also share with our audience across the globe on this very rich book called Roots Revisited. I'll start by asking you that when you say Roots Revisited, what are you talking about? And when I look at the book, I see Casino Hotel and then a man carrying the bag back to the village setting.
Yes, we live a life of being uprooted from our culture, from our tradition. I mean, especially from our lives. If you look at the illustration, a man on the side where there is a casino, yes, there is a hotel. His shoes, one side is a jacket, a trouser, and then the other side is a loincloth, moving back to the village. This is the experience we have, because we happen to have been caught in two worlds, like many writers have said. The world that came and met us, and the world we are trying to adjust to, at the same time getting uprooted from our culture. That's the experience we have. And this book is a journey back to the roots, to try to go back to my roots, our roots, like African roots, to say that what we are is what we are, and to cause the young generation to know that the lessons of yesterday that said that everything about us is bad is not true. It's not true.
It's not true. I see on the cover picture a man who is half dressed in a suit and also dressed in a loincloth and what they call a singlet now.
Yes.
Is it to say that you see a man who is not fully westernized, and also who is partly westernized and partly traditional. Yeah. Is this a man that is in search of his true identity?
That is it. He's a man who is in search of his true identity. There is a poem I wrote 2 days ago, and it is titled "The Pains of Yesterday." And in the poem, I try to capture the settings that have caused that individual to regret yesterday. So in this illustration, the man discovers that no, even where he believes that he is actually not what he desires. In fact, the reality catches with him, and then he tries to go back to the roots.
Yeah, but is this an apt description of who most Cameroonians are today?
Not only Cameroonians.
Africans, I say.
Most Africans. Yes, most Africans. Like somebody said, Africans are the most rejected, unwanted, almost everywhere in the world, the black man. Because we try to fit into the new setting, but we are found wanting. And even when we want to excel, the mere reason that we want to excel becomes a problem. That is the fate of the African.
Okay, we are unwanted, and but now, why is it important to get back to our roots?
Because a man without roots is non-existent.
We are living in a global village where we need to adapt and flow with the trend.
Yes, you flow with the trend, but you don't flow without your trend. In the setting that we find ourselves, most of us find ourselves, we are without our own trend. So you must be able to have something to sell.
Since we left our culture, our roots, what has gone wrong in the African, Cameroonian, Southwest Manu setting, Ejagham, to be precise? What has gone wrong?
Yes, almost everything has gone wrong.
Okay.
We don't have our belonging. It's not there. And we've been made to believe that everything about our culture is not good. If you look at the first poem here, the sacrifice of early morning water, it is meant to establish, to refute the fact that Africans or the Ejagham people were not as spiritual as what they have found in the Western religion. And if a Westerner looks at this poem, the first thing that will come to his heart is that these people are not spiritual, but they are practicing something which is diabolic. And they have a funny name, they call it superstitious. They are superstitious. And they are not superstitious because you see the man, he gets up in the morning, he gets, the left hand held a cup of fresh water, scooped that early from the brook, offers prayers to Father God and Mother God. Ntobasi, Novasi. His God cannot be a bachelor, else you have no explanation for our presence and existence. His numerous children that we are, the belief of the Ejagham man, offers them water to drink, invokes all the dead, ancestors and kinsmen, offers them morning water. With the right hand, offers for us the living, invoking wellness and wealth, children and good harvest, to increase soil fertility and increase our coast. The left hand again, to punish the wicked, whose hands spill our blood daily, who will not leave us in peace, who have made slaves of our children and made freeborns of slaves. By so doing, desecrated our land. With both hands, Boa pours it to the earth. Now, this is an expression of African spiritualism. It is not what they call us or what they think we are. Because he gets up in the morning, he didn't need to wait for somebody to come from somewhere to tell him lessons about God. He knew that there is a God. And so he takes water, which is a neutral medium, to bless the God and asks that his day and journey on from that day be perfect. What do? In the morning we go for morning prayers. That is what they also do. They were expressing their belief in God in that manner. They didn't wait for anybody to come and tell them that there was a God. They had a name for God, oversee. That is it.
So what is the essence of this poem that is telling the world that even before the arrival of the white man, we had a way of worshiping? Are you telling Africans, the Cameroonians, to go back to that way of worship, or not to denigrate their lifestyle, especially from the spiritual perspective? Yeah.
You said it all. Not to denigrate their lifestyle, because in actual fact, there is no superior religion and there is no inferior religion. All religions are equal because they are the expression of the search for God.
Yeah, but who do you blame here? Because you have, when you go to India, you have Hinduism. They have stayed true to their way. In China, they have stayed, but in Africa, there is not that African religion that has gone global like others have done.
Yeah, that's the truth. The African is the only person who swallowed the Western game, hook, line, and sinker. Yes. So we blame ourselves. This realization causes us now to go back to our roots. That's the reason for this creation. And after this creation, there is a follow-up, which is already with the publishers.
Okay. Yes, I wanted us to get the capture of that description. Can we have it? You see a man who is leaving the city back to the village setting.
That's right.
Dressed Western, halfway Western, and in a suit, and also traditionally from another perspective. Can we see that the African man is caught at crossroads?
Yes, it's caught at crossroads.
Yes, what he's described as a cultural mulatto.
That's right.
He's neither a true African, neither.
In that poem, I described him as yesterday. They gave me a name which was neither mine, and they asked me to dress in hired robes, and I looked awkward.
Which of the poems?
It's not here. It's okay. It will be in the third collection.
Okay.
Yes, and so he goes ahead to explain that now that he has realized who he is, that his realization fires his resistance. I can get it for you. It's not very far away, and when the realization fires his resistance, what do you expect? He can no longer want to take it. And the poem, I captioned it, I said, the pains of yesterday. Let me see if I can get you read some lines from it. And it expresses this desire that all of us want to. All of us want to. Even those who have transported themselves out of their cultures and are very far away, from time to time they feel the urge. They want to eat achu. They want to eat fufu and eru. They carry it from here in tons. But what does it mean? It's an indication of the fact that there is something lacking.
There is something lacking. But all of this is contained in this great book. And the diction, it is poetic. How do you intend to make this message actually get vehiculated to Africans across the globe?
Yes, if you want to get a message across the globe, then you don't make it too simple in a manner that when somebody reads it, he gets to the level of exasperation so easily. And you don't make it too high flown so that the real people who are supposed to be the beneficiary of the philosophy that you are giving don't go empty. So it's, yes, I know poetry is an uncommon art, but with a little digging deeper, you will see what is being said.
You get what is being said. But
yes.
Now, how about the common man? Because there is, what you're treating in this book, the need for us to go back to our root is very, very important. This is a call that is also made by so many quarters. How do we get this message even to those who are not literate? Because you must be literate to understand this. Are there other means that you are thinking of getting the same message across? Maybe getting it in pidgin format, or doing town hall meetings explaining what is in the poems?
Yes, I intend, one, to translate it into the Ejagham language.
Okay.
Translate it into the pidgin language. In what I have done at the Amazon, I am also going to do oral production of the poems, so that as you're reading, you can follow it orally. Many of the things that I have captured in this work have almost gone extinct in the Ejagham tradition. So I intend to, while we are working on the codification of a common Ejagham language for the whole of Ejagham nation, Cameroon and Nigeria, I intend to get the work translated into Ejagham language, or the works, because there are many that are going to come. I'm working also on primers for the teaching of the Ejagham language, which we are codifying, so that when you read the work, there will be meetings to talk about these things, and questions will be directed to me, because everybody will want to know, how did you get these? How did you come by these? How did you eventually recapture all these things?
Yeah, so you say many things in the Ejagham traditional setting are going extinct. Yes, like what? If you look at poem. If you look at poem number 8, Ejagham, the renaming sacrifice. The notion of reincarnation has been argued against and argued for a very long time. But we have it in the Ejagham tradition. The Ejaghams believe that when a child dies, that child can come back. When a man dies, that man can come back. And I have witnessed. And so in this renaming ceremony, the children who did not know will be able to know what happens here. Well over 30 months, Mary's last child has refused to walk. The legs have shrunk as days go by into broomsticks. She wails over the burden of always carrying a load on her back, like a spell home from a child whose birth was great joy, now Nsah. The news fast spread like the secret of King Midas, carried from mouth to ears after grass had done its worst. The child his eyes has sealed, like one in great anger, refusing bread and food. Tatankom has been consulted to take a trance for the ancestors, to seek their faces, why Eta walks not and sucks not. From the mother's breast, what all had expected has come to pass. Eta has rejected the name, his real name from above. Ojongafugi must replace Eta. For him not only walk, but eat and drink. He demands a feast of kola nuts and snuff, of the flesh of the red deer, in palm oil and palm wine, a loincloth and his mbe staff. Ojongafugi, we rename you. Forgive us for failing to observe clear signs of your reincarnation. This is your meat and wine. Eat and drink. Behold, the mouth opens, receives food and drinks. A piece of cloth, loincloth, is placed firmly about his waist. Mbe staff falls into his thin fingers. Ejengbe bario owa
Ejagham opens his eyes to his new name and new old world. So these are things that were being done, but they cannot be done now. So through what I am recapturing, the children who are coming will be able to know how they were being done.
Yes, but tell me about reincarnation. When you say reincarnation, you mean that somebody dies and is able to come back to life? How does that operate? And you say you have lived an experience?
Yes, I have lived the experience because I am one. If you look at me, you'll discover that I have a part of my ear here which was chopped off because I went and came. My mother delivered me. After a long time again, she delivered a child, and I couldn't suck. I refused to suck, and they had to seek the face of the ancestors to find out what was happening. And when they found out, they said, is that child who went and came back, and he said that he must go again. And for me not to go back, they had to sacrifice a part. And my mother chose this. There are other children that they cut the fingers. It is a reality. That is the reality with the Ejagham man.
What about the elderly, that people die and are found in other and is that real?
Yes, it is. I have another poem I wrote, The Ghost. It is a reality. I have not only witnessed it, I have taken part in exhuming and eliminating, because there are 4 elements.
Okay.
In the 4 elements, you have 3 elements of life and 1 element of destruction.
Is a ghost there? Is it?
The ghost is not part of this collection.
Okay.
It is still here, just searching for the.
It's coming. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ghost, the ghost, they exist. It's not because the Ejagham people are too much, but the fact that there is the word ghost even in the Bible means that the ghost exists even in Christendom. Yes, but in Ejagham with us is a reality. I have seen a ghost. I have taken part in exhuming a ghost and then eliminating him. So you have these 4 elements: element of water, element of air, element of the earth, and then fire. Fire is the element of destruction. If you go, you come back, and you say you don't want to go. Some go, come back, they bury them. I don't know how we put it, but it's not reincarnation there now. This one now is resurrecting, yes, or germinating as much as you can. They come back, and they go and settle somewhere else. It exists. It's the reality of my people, the Ejagham people.
So, what was the essence of exhuming
because the person in question was he had died more than 10 years ago. He was living in Lagos, and then came home during Christmas.
You people were there, and you saw him come?
I'm coming. I am giving you this testimony, which I wasn't a child then. I was already in the university. I was in 3rd year in the university. And because we had to leave to go to my mother's village, you had to leave Ayoke. It's a footpath in those days. So I was determined to sleep the night with my mother. So I got to a brook, they call it Akpe, to go across and then get to the village. As I was about to plunge my leg in the water, and I heard the terrible sound that I have never, there were mixed sounds in Millet, and then I turned and looked down the stream. That was him standing in a clean suit like yours. And I recognized him. And I crossed and I started running. As I got to the threshold of the village, I heard Angbu dancing. So I got in as a man. I went to the house. My grandfather said, okay, you go and join the village. This is what is on. He comes. What they do is that they ask you, you want to stay? If you want to stay here, it has never happened. It doesn't happen like that.
He comes to the family.
No, he comes. They have they use what they call a woo. They call him in Nebu, he talks. They tell him, did you come to go back? So he, in this particular case, he said, no. He has come to stay. He wants to take care of the daughter. Then they say, no, you cannot stay here. Because the powers he has, the powers that are transmitted from the earth, the cosmic powers that come from the earth are very strong. So they said, no, you cannot. Because at that particular moment, he can disappear, he can appear, he can, the mere fact that he comes out of the grave, it's a wonderful mystery. So I was challenged to see the truth and confirm it. In the morning, we danced Tangbu and the dance, and then very early in the morning, we went to the grave. And with the hoe, I remember that it was my grandfather who even knocked the grave. 1, 2, 3. And when they knock the grave like that, wherever you are, you must come back into the grave. And we started exhuming. And you know how they dig graves in the village. Somebody must get inside and raise his hands. But before we got to the knees, that was the coffin. And that was him. The grass seats that he was running up and down that morning were still tied to his clean shoes he had come from Lagos with. And as I'm telling you, there was a mystery that I found on that day that I have not been able to understand. Because they found a water fufu sieve, a big basin that it's perforated to wash a water fufu. How he got into the grave with it on his chest is what I cannot understand up till today. So that is a reality. The reality is not because it is talked about in Ejagham tradition or in Manu tradition, but it's the reality because it exists.
Now, what happened with the corpse that was exhumed?
No, it was burnt. Now, when they opened him, he was still strong. But they carried...
After 10 years?
Yes, after 10 years. No, you discover that, no, this man has actually germinated. It's not a lie. The people know it. So he was exhumed and put out. But the moment he comes into contact with air, through the process of getting him out of the grave, without using his cosmic powers to come out, and comes into contact with air, he started disintegrating. Yes. Okay. So he was bundled into the fire. I witnessed it live, and it's not a lie.
Okay, let's get back to this. You see, somebody writes, I think it's Mr. Daniel Angut. He says, but this is not the case. He looks back at the past African culture and the pure love that permeated the society with nostalgia. You, in this, we can read through the poems, see that there was more love in those days than what exists today?
Yes, there was a lot of love in our cultures. If you look at Moonlight Romance, poem number 23. The moonlight came out early. This we had expected dearly. It is the period of moonlight romance, when lads and damsels sing and dance to the pleasure of newfound love. Ayamba barely finished her evening meal and made for the door to seal. The invitation song ran through the air. Thereabout she thought of what to wear to join the frenzy and the joy. Ayamba ro di chango fab, aro di chango fab, adio di kena fab. And you can see the translation there, which says, if Ayamba has not yet eaten, she cannot go out. If she has not yet eaten, she cannot go out. Until she eats, then she can go out. So the invitation was both insult and provocation, meant to get the damsels expedite action and join in the moonlight pleasure. Who knows, a love tryst may be sure. That could seal a marriage deal. Ayamba picked her way majestically to the arena. She knew Arung will be waiting for an answer to the question he posed by the brook. It hooked as though he drew from a book, like a nail to her mind and heart. And the time finally came when such answers are given as a game, through a song that drives all anxious to get an answer so precious from the love of your life. O wisango pero waya ntemakoro kotemo waya aranginri kambugo waya o konantama waya o nyangi bumaya o waya. Ayamba had decided it must be tonight. No befitting time surpasses this moonlight for her to openly express her love to the one she's deeply in love, Arong, the most cherished one. It was her turn. Since it is 10 by 10, the song pierced her heart. An arrow straight to the love of her heart. On his forehead rubbed the dust of love. When we look at Indian films, we are tempted to believe that the rubbing of something on the forehead as a sign of love is something very strange to our own cultures. It's because we abandon it. It is part of the Ejagham culture. The love is right from the heart, and it is expressed in the open. If you love somebody here, come and express it. Rub the dust of love on his forehead, and then you see the damsels do that to their loved ones. That is the expression of pure love I am talking about. And if you look at there is another poem there where the young men.
I see a Jongi Mbingi, love of my heart.
Yes.
Yes, but a love of my heart is so intimate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The love of my heart is so intimate.
62, page, poem 22, page 62.
Okay, poem 22. Yes.
Page 62.
Ejagham, love of my heart. Mm-hmm. She came today late evening. What she had been resisting since her open declaration, as though on a spell of motion. You know that there is the open declaration during the moonlight dance, where people express themselves. But she had never caused the love to be consummated. And the young man knows that the love is intimate even without consummation. Mm-hmm. So, but this day in the evening, she came late evening. What she had been resisting since her open declaration, as though on a spell motion. Here today she is, feeling more at ease, chewing stick and loincloth tight, as though she intends to spend the night. Night with me she often resisted, though eagerly I often insisted. Anxiety seriously talking my nerves, as my sponge grows in blood cells. Today she seems acting a resolution, and me eyeing a consummation, for what was declared in the open will certainly today go open. My bed fully is made, my arms I will take, all night long over and over, and make her mine forever and ever. Yet, the great question must be asked. The tribe demands to get this cracked. It is for me only and no one else, as everyone else in this case counts less. Gently, I made for the thigh to quiz, finding confidence and much peace. The question popped with all ease. The love of my heart. Today, did you come to spend the night with me, or you've come to go back?
Yeah, these two poems, it gives a different picture of love between two lovers, yes, compared with what is happening today.
Yes.
We hardly feel, live, and see this. What's the difference?
The difference is, individualism defines our present state of life. Mm-hmm. Yes. In my tradition, the notion of divorce was very remote. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Ejagham, it was very, very remote. It has come now to stay. Today, with a very little, a very small excuse, divorce is granted. But in the Ejagham tradition, they had a way of solving it and the marriage state. So there was the expression of intimate love in the past. And I am not saying that in the Ejagham tradition now, it's no longer the case. In the Ejagham tradition in those days, you had a man with 5 wives, all the wives cooperating, all the children cooperating. Today, just make the mistake that you want to marry another wife, all hell is loose. And you discover that while last year marriage or love was hanging on the person, today love is hanging on material.
Okay. Somebody's asking, greetings, Mr. Kum, please, when is the rebroadcast of this program? Tomorrow, 1 p.m. We're going to have a rebroadcast of this edition of Prime. If you joined late or you want other persons to watch, tomorrow, 1 p.m., please just tune in. Love, as described by you in this poem, appeared more natural,
yes,
more sincere,
yes,
and but how do we relive this? What you are saying? Should we all go back to the village?
Times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Times have changed, but we have a duty to tell our children what we lived yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
because we had a more organized and peaceful society. We have to tell our children the way we lived. We looked at love. In fact, if you look at poem number 25,
Mm-hmm.
Njomekat, that is adultery. Adultery 2. No, we can go back to adultery 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ekuneum means adultery. And the society was so organized that once there is a case of adultery, there was a management, and then there was restitution. You know, the people who committed, who got into the act. And let me, in fact, you will get it very clearly in the poem. Adultery. Ism has done it again, suffering the husband in vain, pretending as if he is the cause. Of truth, Ism is a curse. She carried a tar in her heart, in her chest. You can get the expression, carried in that. The notion of love of the Ejagham man was that the other person rested inside, in the inner being of you.
Mm-hmm.
Telling the husband she wants a rest, only to turn behind her house and act as though she is a horse. Accepting a tar into her womanhood, a sacred part husband owned chopping wood. Digging and felling and pruning palms. To qualify, he used his bare hands. This act in Ejagham is abominable. It must be tried and placed on the table. The whole village gets involved to see it properly resolved. For it to be laid to rest, Ism has to lay bare her chest by naming all the men she slept with for the proper cleansing of the filth. With the village, so the village gather at the Ifa. Ism is brought before that altar to confess to same, even though a shame. Opinon is brought and she's made to swear, barefooted and nothing to wear. The priest confirms Opinon is strong, and refusing to name all is indeed a wrong. So Ism starts with a tar, the most recent, who found her chest a sweet present, and sails through a good long list. For sure you could see she had a feast. The priest confirms her chest is free. Now he has to collect his fee. A fee Ism had dearly used in a marriage she had greatly abused. Now, when this is done, we have had a lot of accusation in the African tradition that our tradition only holds the women guilty in adultery. But that was not true. It is because the people who told the story did not take the pains to tell the other side of the story. And in adultery too, it establishes the pains for the man or the men who went into adultery with Ism. And the adultery too states, the adulterous men line up. They know their deed is ought and have to bear the cross, quietly or through force. The cold husband listens to admonitions. He is advised to take precautions, eschew blind anger and the consequences. it has destroyed many in high places. For Ekun has always been there, certainly will always be there.
Okay.
So no need to worry and fret. Only name the fee and forget the thread. He pegs a charge as best he can. The sitting adjust one by one. So fines collected in wine and cash, the wine consumed but not the cash. The cash reserved for the cuckold to take care, he is told, of his person and battered image, and close as over the erring page. So the story they say, which has been written elaborately, that the judgment was only for the woman, is not true. After the woman is made to confess, the men are called now and they are lined up. Mm-hmm. And the husband of the woman is called to come and name a fee. Not that he will come and say, okay, I want him killed. No, the community is there to moderate. And he names acceptable fees, and all the men pay. And they pay the fees plus wine, and the community drinks the wine, and the fee in cash is handed over to him. And they tell him, this is to clean your image, and then forget about this pay.
Okay, you are describing the way cases of adultery were handled in the Ejagham tradition
of yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, but was it better handled than what's happening today? Seemingly, things are just happening today. Yeah, is it because our communities have become more complex, very difficult to even identify who is into an adulterous relationship or not?
I think now pretending that if your wife commits adultery, then that is a reason for divorce. Pretending that way, it has not helped anything. It doesn't help anything, because we live in a very, very complex society now, that the adulteries happen almost everywhere. And when they happen and they are taken to court, okay, the court's judgment does not create the harmony that is supposed to be, because the court's judgment, okay, calls for separation. But the traditional judgment calls for appeasement. It calls for appeasement, gets the man back in the relationship with the wife, and their life goes on. So that one that, does not create breakup in the family was better. Even though we were told that it wasn't better. I had to try to recapture all this to show that the Ejagham people had a way of managing their society in such a manner that you do not really have breakups and instability in the family.
Okay, I'll take one or two messages. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. Well, according to explanation of the poem and regarding African culture and tradition, history makes us understand that before the white man came to Africa, tradition and culture had already existed. Each and every tribe has a name they call God, and it's unanimously agreed by that tribe or clan. But today we see the body of Christ being fragmented by Christians with different names labeled to their churches. Not only that, they still fight against themselves as to which church is real. Churches today divide and frustrate people than assembling them. Prince Bile is writing from Berlin in Germany. Good evening to you, Prince Bile. Glad to read from you. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Mr. Agbornduku. I am Princess Atusa writing from Boya. I am very happy with your work. I would really love to get the poems in the Ejagham language. Congratulations for the work done.
Thank you.
May more people join you. Okay, please, you can write to him personally. If you want his number, I can share it with you. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and the great mind that with you in the studio. Please permit me ask this question. How can we join the love, discipline, and respect of our old good days to this, our modern system? Thank you. Agendia Sylvester is writing from Yaoundé.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Gendia, it's a very good question. The there is, what is happening now, even in what I am doing, is a renaissance. There is the feeling that where we find ourselves is not as satisfying as we thought. For us to be able to have, peace, we will only have to take a bit of what is good in modernity and take from what is good in our cultures. It will be very, very impossible for us to live, the life of a different culture still being planted in our skins and in our thoughts.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Can I please have the number of my father, in the studio? Ask him. Can I share a number with this person? They are asking for your number. Somebody who is watching, a viewer.
Okay, share the number.
So he says I should share the number with you. But this book, you have many copies?
Yes, many copies.
And how do you want it to be gotten by Cameroonians across all 10 regions, so out of Cameroon?
First, it is in Amazon.
Okay.
It is locked in Amazon. I am going to do the launching here in Douala.
Okay.
On the 10th of February at Royal Palace Hotel at 3 p.m. After the launching, then I will now decide on distributing the books, because we printed them, printed many copies. And why am I doing a launching? I'm doing a launching so that it can help to defray the cost. Otherwise, the cost of one booklet will be very high, because you see, the illustrations are colored, and colored printing is it's very expensive. And we went into printing when this Ukraine war came, and the cost of paper surged so badly. The original cost I had to do 2,000 copies was 2,500,000, but I ended up doing the copies, 1,000 copies at close to 4 million francs. So when I do the first launching here and the second launching in Kumba, then I will see how I can decide to peg the price, maybe 2,500, 3,000, but not more than 5,000, 6,000 as the cost eventually came.
Okay.
So it will be distributed.
Okay. Now I'm reading from the book. It sets the stage with times are evil, where the sun is setting in the morning. Chaos everywhere disrupts the socio-cultural and political fabric of society, and every person suffers from the throes of socio-political unrest. This one is already going to what we are living today.
That's true.
Is that also part of the book?
Yeah, the book actually is about crisis, human crisis. When you are uprooted from your culture, you are
setting the stage for chaos.
That's right. You have the individual running a crisis because he's not himself, and then you have the other crisis poems on this second section of the book, like the times are evil, the life we live today. The life we live in the crisis, well, the Anglophone crisis, the human crisis, the general crisis of the human being. For example, if you have this poem, The Solitary Singer, she sang as she walked through the maze of patience' wards, varied in pain as in attention. So she worked as she sang, her voice ringing through the night, soothing the patients, killing their pains. No one understood why this loneliness sings dearly every day, in mournful notes that wipe her pains and the gnawing aches away. So she sings away in compassion for the pains of her patients at work, for her children at home, for her love lost on one who cares less. She sings the tears of pain. Her song drinks The tears of pains are sung drinks. No one sees how much they pour deep the inner chamber of her heart and mind. Today she is singing for the newfound love in the care of her patients, who see not nor comprehend, for her love wasted in adult doses on a man who feels not the love her heart pours. For the one who loves her so, yet far away, who is not there to hear her sweet notes ringing, meant for his heart and soul. You see the crisis, the human crisis. The nurse here feels internal pain, and the only way she could express this pain is by singing. Singing to her patients in their own pains. Singing to herself to drain down the pain of lost love. And at the same time, singing to please a love that is not there. And that love could be God. That when she thinks of that love that is not there, she finds solace and gets on.
And gets on.
Yes.
Okay, Roots are revisited. I want us to have an understanding of. We have a series of poems here. We have disaster, we have flames, we have the sacrifice of harvest. Yes, and waiting for the moon. What are we saying in all of these poems?
As I said, disaster is a crisis situation.
Flames.
Flames is a crisis situation. So as you can see, I am not a coterie poet. I don't write only about one something, like, okay, maybe he says he's writing about nature, and it goes on. I write about the circumstances, for example, in this volume, that create a crisis. So once you have disaster, and what was described there was a bomb thrown into a depth, and inside that depth is the totem of the land, and the bomb explodes, killing fishes and also killing the totem of the land that used to protect, disaster from befalling the community. And in terms of nature, that is a poem that, the human being is destroying his nature by using artificial chemical fishing. You throw a bomb into this into the depth, and you blow up everything. The fishes, the rocks come out in splinters, as the poem describes. If you look at flames, this is the dry season. Somebody smokes a cigarette, like in my area where you have cocoa farms, and throws the boot carelessly, and it catches fire. It develops into conflagrations and will destroy farms. A cocoa farm, because of excessive pruning, not even excessive, because you must prune every year for it to give you the crops. Then the flames will burn down the farm. That is disaster. That is what the flames is talking about. And what was that again?
We have flames, disaster, flames, and the sacrifice of harvest.
Yeah, the sacrifice of harvest comes to... Sacrifice of harvest is which poem again?
Sacrifice of harvest is on page 58.
Okay,
poem 20.
Okay, page 58. The sacrifice of harvest is a poem that reminds us that all these things that have come now, we were doing them. So let us not move into them blindly. The sacrifice of harvest, in the Ejagham tradition, during harvest, nobody ate until the whole community brings the harvest to the threshold of the village. They had a tree, which they call it the God's tree. And they will make a big basket, as you see in the picture there. Everybody comes, the one who has harvested corn, the one who has harvested plums and all that, they come. Everybody hollers a prayer. And when they finish praying, the priest orders for a stop, they stop, and then they pour all what they have brought into that giant basket. In most villages, before this the Advent now, every village had that either is a plum tree that has grown for after repeated years of sacrificing, or a pear tree or a mango tree, and they call it the God's tree. Now, what is very significant about this, that the prayers were carried out in the Pentecostal manners, and we felt that we are just getting this from the Pentecostal churches. No, we were also doing it to God. It is not because somebody comes and says, okay, come and do this in church now. We were doing it to God. We were sacrificing our crops to God, the early harvest. But now the churches call it first fruit. The sacrifice of first fruit. Or they were harvest. Then you take it, you go and give them, and they go. But here, they were put in that basket, and they said, we are giving this in appreciation to God. And the way the people prayed, everybody praying in consonance with his ache, or in celebration of his harvest, just like the Pentecostals do. They thunder the prayers, and at the end the priest thunders a stop, and they stop and pour all the harvest. And then they move in a file back to the Ifa. When they get to the Ifa, the priest now has to find out from the gods whether whether the sacrifice was accepted. In so doing, he throws the they call it in Ejagham, you know, he throws it, and when the leaf falls one side open and one side closed, they now start celebrating that the God has accepted their sacrifice. These things are not new. It is not because the pastor comes and stands and says, you don't bring your first fruit, you don't do this, you don't do this. No, we were doing it, but we were not giving it to people to go and eat. We were giving it to God, and we prayed in the same manner. All these things are not new. It is because we allowed us get lost. The Indians are surviving today because they resisted, you know. It is only the Africans who swallowed everything. As I said, hook, line, and sinker.
Okay. We are looking at adultery. Okay, we've talked about that already.
Yes, yes.
There is page 3, poem 28. Okay. On page 75, I'm sure. It talks about two men quarreled.
Yes.
Yes. How is it to tell us how quarrels were solved in the past, and that we should learn from how these things worked out?
Yes.
Page 75, poem 28.
Yes. This is the expression of a crisis situation where somebody becomes blind while seeing, where somebody becomes what do I say? Where somebody refuses to reason. Two men quarreled from sunrise to sunset, each hollering over the other's head. It was so loud no one seems to hear the other. Yet they shouted madly. A Pentecostal prayer session in different tongues, strange to both, though brothers, both by faith and design. What cacophony! Adults pretending not to know what to do and how to go about it. You can see this even in our situation. They are now furious, justifying incoherently the uninterested listeners across the board, uninterested listeners across the board, each throwing broadsides the like of bullets, awakening the dead, disturbing the infants, and eliminating the present. Time refuses to stand still as they waste in anger like a knocking engine, grinding to a halt. They are pounding now. The knocking engine fires on, refusing to hook. The bewilderment is enormous, the chaos unimaginable. Only God knows where they head to. Frightened, I turn around and cover my sheets. It is ghost town. Still I hear them thundering. This experience I had in a hotel room in Victoria, in Limbe, early morning, and it was a ghost town day, so I couldn't travel back, and the gunshots and the running everywhere. And I said, but this is it. 2 men shouting over each other's head. No one listens. No one hears. It is ghost town. I turned and covered my sheets. This is the crisis situation where no one listens, where no one wants.
Because of ego?
Yes, because of ego.
Okay, I'll take some messages and we move on. Hello, sir, good evening. It's Emil from Bamenda. How can I have one of the books that you are talking about? I will send you his number. I'll send you his number so that you can get to him to find out, but it will be best you attend the launch of the book in Douala on the 10th of February.
At 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, okay.
Royal Palace Hotel.
Greetings to you, Daddy. I'm Echegba Hilary Okom, writing from Amphi. I appreciate you so much for your wisdom by bringing us back to our roots as Africans. God bless you, sir. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. There is a dying wave of our native languages today due to the lack of interest from our parents to teach the youth, the younger generation. Is this also a wake-up call for the elderly like yourself, myself, to hold strong to our culture and be able to transmit it to our children?
Exactly. Exactly. That is, if you look at the poem number 9, the urge again, like pounding bombs, stormed our hearts. The splinters made sense in its holistic justification. One is whole and perfect. Careless lines of marauders rip off chunks of same stock. Brutal midwives bet, challenging status quo ante, shall remain with them, haste and crooked races. In their kinkered psyches, but never in our hearts and minds. The rebirth is here. Today the flames burn of potent embers, sealing this great pact of renaissance and rebirth. It is we who should get up and create this renaissance and create this rebirth. Otherwise, our children continue to sail away into nothingness. To sail away into nothingness. Tanja, Tatekpo, Anom, behold, O you descendants, hail the reawakening, hail the rebirth. This is the period for us to tell ourselves that we have sailed away too far. And when we do that, we will not only find ourselves, but we will now begin to exist.
Okay. Now, there is this other poem called Breaking the Cycle of Calamities.
Yes.
Page 79, poem 30.
Yes.
Are you telling us how problems, calamities were solved in the past and that we can learn from them?
Yes. That poem, it's Breaking the Cycle of Calamities, Mbibi, is a follow-up of poem 29, Mbibi, for victims of fatal accidents. Now, in the Ejagham tradition, like in most African traditions, there are the sacrifices of appeasement, the sacrifices of bringing back the human being from excessive calamities. And they called it Mbibi. Now, when calamities befall a family or a man, 1, 2, or 3 times, no, the sacrifice of to break the cycle of calamities is performed. And in Bibi, the abominable has happened again. A curse of untold dimensions to the land and its people, who must be cleansed through Mbibi, the sacrifice of cleansing and prevention to establish normalcy and drive away the curse and mishaps. A song's wife crushed by a falling tree spells doom. The brother killed by a buffalo. The aunt drowned by swift currents. They remained blind, playing modern as they pray often. The doom looms for today and after, until this link is severed, like umbilical cord to the body. The sadness is a permanency. Today is one more calamity too much. They run back to the clan, swallowing their vomit like dogs, on all fours, pleading for Mbibi to be performed and cleanse their household of further impending calamities, for them to know peace again. And then when this happens, the sacrifice of breaking the cycle of calamities is performed. A rare occasion indeed for the clan to see the need to declare a Temimbibi and cause it to come to be. So the 7 items can thus be gotten, and not a single item forgotten, in the presence of the old and initiates, who by rot tomorrow imitate same processes for same results, and save the clan from undue insults. The items so harvested are counted, one by one, none is wasted. In a calabash of water for the desire that will put out that consuming fire, daily wasting a song's lineage, and break that chain for every age. The chief priest early morning announces, inviting all from their houses to come for the Mbibi cleansing bath that will break all calamities on their path and restore peace and harmony, which calamity has so them refused company. He calls on God the Creator, offers kola nuts and water, calls the ancestors by name, invites them to uphold their fame. Abayumimbibe, Abayumimbibe, with the womb in the left hand, breaks the cycle of calamities and wards off all uncertainties. With the womb in the right hand, establishes peace and serenity for song's lineage and that of the community. So you see how today, when it happens like that, they say, okay, let us go to church. But these people, these are song's lineage. They had the calamities, they were praying and praying, it befell them again. They kept on praying, it befell them again. And so they went back and asked for Mbibi to be performed. And when it was performed, the cycle of calamities was broken.
They were praying to who?
A song they were praying, they went to church.
Which church?
Their church, the modern church. They had forgotten about breaking the cycle of calamities traditionally, which is there. So when they stayed, it wasn't happening. They say, they run back to the clan, swallowing their vomit like dogs, on all fours, pleading for Mbibi to be performed and cleanse the household of further impediment and calamities, for them to know peace again.
So they were praying and they found no solution.
They were praying and they found no solution. After one mishap another.
They were praying in this modern church?
In the modern churches.
And nothing was happening?
Nothing was happening.
They went back to
the clan.
To the traditional setting.
That's right.
To respect what has been happening in the past.
In the past.
And the calamity was stopped.
It was stopped.
To say that it was a spiritual occurrence, or what are you trying to say?
You know, there is the world we see with our eyes. And then there is the world that exists beyond our eyes. And all these experiences intermingle. And they create, you know, the things that affect us. So, as I talked about reincarnation, if you didn't know it, or the naming ceremony, if you didn't know it, the child will eventually die. And you start accusing people. You go to the church, the prophet will tell you that is your aunt's, your aunt of your mother's sister or sister's brother or aunt's sister that is responsible. And you start killing. There was a lot of happenings like that in the Ejagham land until I had to step in. This man goes here and says, oh, the prophet has said that you are the one who has killed this person. They come and hold that person and kill. This one goes to the other way, say, no, the prophet has said this, the prophet has said that. But there are simple ways of warding off calamities in the world that we do not see with our eyes, that affect us in this world we see with our eyes.
Okay. Now, where is the place of, because there you say they prayed in church, and they did not find solution. They went to Mbibi in the village, and finally calamities were stopped. Where is the place of the ancestors? Who is Mbibi, and who were they? Who did they consult in the village?
You know, if you look at the poem again, I said the priest, the items so harvested are counted one by one, so none is wasted. And then, in a calabash of water for the desire that will put out that consuming fire, daily wasting a song's lineage, and break the chain for every age. The chief priest early morning announces, inviting all from their houses to come for the Mbibi cleansing bath that will break all calamities on their path and restore peace and harmony, which calamity has so them refuse company. He calls on God the Creator. That's the thing with the ceremonies in the Ejagham land, in the Manu land. They first call God. It is not that it's only in the church that you go to find God. They call God, they invite God. This is what we have brought. This is what is troubling us. And then they now call the ancestors. So offers coal and nuts and water, calls the ancestors by name, invites them to uphold their fame.
Who are the ancestors?
The ancestors
who have died?
Yeah, of course, you don't have ancestors who are living, because you don't have saints who are living. You go to the church, they call God the Father the same, and then they call the saints. They call the saints, call Peter, call David, call this, call that, call that. Those are ancestors.
So in the village, these ancestors are there, and they are invoked to come and stop the calamities?
Of course, we in my tradition, we don't have dead. We have the living dead. So we do not, what some writers, some anthropologists and sociologists have written wrongly, trying to say that we worship ancestors. No, we don't worship ancestors. We communicate with our ancestors. We communicate with them, because we believe they are living, and they hear us, and they do hear us. We communicate with our ancestors. I gave you the experience of one of our member in our community who died, and after 10 years or more came back. We communicate, we commune with them, and we communicate with them. We don't worship them, as they say. We worship God. That's why in every prayer, in every incantation, we first call on God. That's the way we do it. We are not pagans, as they say. We are very, very big spiritualists.
Big spiritualists, okay, not Christians and not Muslims, but spiritualists. Now, you also talk about Lake Ejagham.
Yes.
Yeah. Where is Lake Ejagham found, and what is so particular about it?
Please, can you get me that poem again?
Lake Ejagham is...
Yes, I got it. Poem number 34.
Yeah.
Yes. Lake Ejagham is a lake in the Ejagham land that gave the name of the tribe, gave the name of the language, and gave the name of the people. So Lake Ejagham, in fact, history and anthropology has shown that the whole of the Ejagham land, the movement of the Ejagham land originated from the salt area, the lake area. So the Ejagham man, the lake is Ejagham. The Ejagham man is Ejagham. The language is Ejagham. The person is Njagham. So the significance of the lake is too much. The lake Ejagham is an outlet lake. It does not receive water from anywhere else. The water comes from beneath. From beneath, yes, and bubbles up and then flows down. It is one of those lakes that does not have any iota of salt. It is very pure. You can drink it directly from, and has very little stories of people drowning. It provided protection. It has its mysteries. And in this poem, we celebrate it because from the days, oh, the great Ejagham, jewel ornament for Ejagham, long from the days of Abraham, you suffered children come to no harm. Everywhere, for everyone in the farm. We, Ejagham, bless you, Ejagham. Lake Ejagham is the source of our existence. It gives us a name as a people. It gives us the language. And it gives us the name as individuals. I am Ejagham. And every other Ejagham speaking person is Ejagham.
Yes, but this lake is, where is it found? In Eyumojok?
It's found in Eyumojok, in the Eyumojok subdivision.
Tell me a little bit more about the Ejagham people. I'll read from somewhere and then you elaborate on. It says that training. No, but Ejagham is in Eyumojok subdivision. It spreads across Cameroon and Nigeria.
Ejagham spreads across Cameroon and Nigeria. And if you read, there is a poem there. At last they met. At last they met, over and across the Cross River, dredged in stretched desire of lost years' capture and rest decades' quest. The river rose to meet us, the breakers the rocks toss in a mystical emphatic chant, hallowed in sacred mist, an awful divine embrace. Alas, we met where two lines run, desperate midwives' effort, brutal cradle of two nations, yet one people, one spirit, one root, one love, the Ejagham people. The Ejagham people are found in the Eyumojok subdivision in Manu division. But the Ejagham nation spreads from Eyumojok there, skirting through Ndian, going right up to where the River Ndian takes its rise, and then continues like that, following the River Awa right through to Calabar. In fact, the whole seat of government of the Cross River State is on Ejagham land. And then it skirts that way through Odukpani, goes right down through Ofutop, right down to Ikom, and cuts across through to Ogoja, and cuts through Mbendege, and coming across back to Cameroon. That is the big Ejagham nation. It's a very big group of people covering a wonderful expanse of land. But as the poem said, brutal, dispassionate midwife's effort. The midwife, trying to deliver two nations, trying to deliver two nations, did not take into consideration that the Ejagham people were one. So he cut them into two. One part remained in Cameroon and the other part remained in Nigeria. That's the Ejagham nation. Yes,
but the poem says that at last you guys came back together?
Yes, at last they met because the project to live and recognize that these are the things that we do, was initiated by an organization for which I am the vice president, EJT, Ejagham Tradition, that we should revive our culture. Let the divide not weaken us. Let us use the divide to grow. That is why even if you looked at my foreword here, that the advent of EJT, Ejagham Tradition, led to me writing this book, because we are carrying out many projects. The first project is to try to have a common Ejagham language, because there are many dialects of the Ejagham language. In Cameroon, we have 3 major clusters. We have Ejagham Obang, we have Ejagham Gunaya, and we have Ejagham Jamaya. In Nigeria, we have many more clusters because there are many. We have Ejagham Bako, we have Ejagham Kwo, we have Ejagham Akankpa, we have Ejagham Etong, and these are very big, expanse of clusters. So we felt that everybody speaking his own, it would be very difficult for us to have things like this put in books for reading, for science, and all that. The Yorubas have, the Hausas, the Northerners have. We should also be able to establish a language. That is what we are doing.
Yeah, but you guys are from a Yumojok in Cameroon. We have Ejaghams in Nigeria.
Yes.
Practically, are you guys meeting? Are there some activities that bond?
Yes, when we have, it is a very interesting situation. It's a very interesting situation. Like my mother comes from Nigeria.
Okay.
And then you cannot stop me from going to celebrate the death of a cousin or the death of a brother. And you cannot also stop maybe my son from getting married from a girl in Nigeria. So the Cameroon government as well as the Nigerian government understands this plight, and they allow us to to intermingle freely,
Yeah, is that all right? Are there some joint activities that you carry out together?
Yes, I said like we are working towards codifying a language. It's
Okay.
a joint activity.
Okay.
I said when you have the Ejaghams in Nigeria are very developed. They're very developed. There are many, very many, and they're also very rich, very exposed. They had the opportunity to go to school more. So when they have the activities, some activities there, they have the Obana Kachak, and then with the Cross River State, they have what they call the Calabar Carnival, where they also take part, and then we are invited to go there. When they have the Ngbe Festival in Calabar, we are invited to go there too. So those are the activities we have together, because we are the same person, we are the same person. And if you are not very careful, you'll be mistakenly calling an Ejagham man a Nigerian, and mistakenly calling an Ejagham man a Cameroonian. They are just the same people who happen to fall on
both sides of the divide.
Yes,
okay.
Unfortunately.
Now, I want us to look at a poem that talks about Kumba City Blues.
Yes.
What are you talking about here?
Yes. Let me see.
Poem 63.
Okay.
Page 211.
Okay. Kumba City Blues.
Yes.
Well, I have lived in Kumba for some time now, and I have also been involved in the politics of Kumba.
Okay.
Yes, I may not have made gains, but I had a serious inner knowledge of what was going on, and I tried to capture it here. And this is, if you look, the whole of this collection is a crisis collection. That there are crises. You can find crisis even in yourself, in your tradition. You can find crisis even in the Anglophone setting. You can find crisis even in your own setting. So you see the crisis, Kumba City Blues, an otherwise wonderful city, but riddled in animosity with numerous camps that brew fear and cramps, creating extreme polarization to the detriment of modernization. Kumba flying bullets, oozing blood from many outlets, through hearty verbal tirades from those considered comrades, with empty, uncommitted loyalty when fortunes become empty. Oh, Kumba, my Kumba, crave for a stamina that ushers great unity for all low and mighty. This we have been told by sages will build great empires for ages. If Kumba can only learn to get away from the internal crisis, the self-imposed internal crisis, Kumba will be a wonderful city. And this is what I try to capture in the book. And there are two things that caused me to write about this. The first is that the instability that we knew of the Northwest and Southwest was very high in Kumba, that instability. But it did not only end with the running game and the hiding game, but the slaughter of the seven children in Kumba.
Yes, Kumba Sakaya.
Yes, which I also captured in a poem here, increases this idea of the crisis in Kumba.
Okay.
But it's a loving city.
It's a loving city. I'm coming back to ask you a question still on that poem in Kumba. Interesting, sir. Good evening. Can I meet with Ejagham group, please? I love my ancestors. Okay, I will send you Mr. Agbornduku's number. Certainly, you can call him and find out how you can get a book or join the Ejagham group if it does exists. I hope one actually exists. Greetings, Mr. Leo, and congratulations to Dr. Agbornduku Eret. Watching from Yaoundé, I have a copy of the book already, and I do enjoy his love poems. My prayer for him is that the Cameroonian government will accept this book to be used in our educational system. Pastor Bali Jacob, writing from Yaoundé there, okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and the great mind with you in the studio. Ask this question: how can we join the love, discipline, and respect of our old days to what we live today? I'm sure a similar question was asked already, and he answered that. Okay. Greetings, Mr. Leo. I'm so moved with power for his great presentation of the Ejagham clan. I'm indeed elated to see an elite of his caliber bringing such a very fine poet in our generation. Israel is writing from Bomenda. I need a copy of his book. Can you just call him through the number I'm sending to you? But let's stay with Kumba. You say, comrades, are you saying that Kumba is not developing because so many persons are not engaged into politicking for the growth and development of Kumba and its people, but for selfish or self-benefit?
No, I am saying that Kumba would have developed more if we had unity. Because we are told that united we're strong. We are strong. But if we are divided, we cannot be strong. We can only fall apart. And in unity, we will achieve more. That's what I'm saying, that if we can stop the political wranglings and come together, you will not recognize Kumba again in the next 5-6 years. It will be a wonderful city.
Okay, wonderful city. The game goes on and on.
Yes.
Gullibility, the night is long. What are we talking about here? Poems 65, 66, and 67.
Yes, the game goes on and on.
What game?
The game of wanting the war in the Northwest and Southwest to continue.
Okay.
Yes, the pretense game. Two elephants themselves tall, like giant gladiators in the talk of war. A game reserved not for ants, without the gate of giant black ants, elephants. Days and months they pulled, an imaginary rope their tool. What yesterday started as a game, 4 years, now we can say 7 years, has grown into a war of fame. Each victory to himself arrogates as profiteers screw open the gates, reaping the elephant's abundant physics in a game now turned a disease. Umpires cry for recess. The elephant's tugging grows excess. Profiteers tactfully take over the game, even when, in truth, tugging grows lame. And the game goes on and on. and the profiteers gain on and on. The poor grass suffers on and on, as peace gets endangered on and on.
Okay. Hello, I wish to have a copy of Mr. Agbornduku's Eret's book. Just write to him, or you text him. This number is on WhatsApp, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
Get to him through WhatsApp. I've sent you the number. Yes, the game goes on and on. From your observation, you think that as the war rages on, some people are using it as a game and not wanting to find a quick solution to it?
War history has always showed that.
Okay.
They are profiteers. And once you have profiteers take over the situation of war, it will be very difficult to call it to an end. And once the profiteers take over the game, the poor grass, which is we, the ordinary people, suffer. And we are suffering as peace gets endangered. So we ask that this crisis can be brought to the end. And in fact, it is the poem 64, Needle in a Haystack, which I wrote with senior barrister Tumfor Nico Halley in mind, because he is an advocate for peace. In fact, a peace crusader, as it says. And when I wrote about Needle in a Haystack, the images of peace, looking for peace in a setting that always gets, makes the peace elusive. That is what I wrote. Why does it so elude us? That we seek with all our force, like an eel in a muddy pond, as kids in turn run for fun, undermining truth in the game, as though we play for fame. It locks in a haystack like pin, for its game is played ever to win. The game of peace, the game of truth is played to win.
Yeah, but okay.
Little it is, that pin of peace, tiny model minds can't see, a clean drop in murky waters that only filtering truly matters, tracing endlessly the old road map, and for lessons of sages tap, clearing the way for lasting peace, what truth establishes with all ease. Why has peace also eluded? A needle in a haystack folded, with tactless digging and scattering, alienation, the need mounting, reckless actions push it away and increase our pains every day. The crusaders for peace have not been able to establish it because the real people who are supposed to help them achieve the peace are not sincere to themselves, are not honest, are not truthful.
Yeah,
but we appreciate them.
What is the place of Tumfor Barrister Nico Halley in this?
He's a peace crusader. Yes. That is his place, because every day he's on a peace mission. Every day in his speech, every day in his appearance, he talks about peace. But the peace keeps on eluding us. And it is like...
Because he's not given the opportunity?
Yeah, but you cannot establish peace. You cannot establish peace alone. If you are a peace crusader, this now is, you are taking me to conflict management. If you are a peace crusader, the warring factions or the antagonistic factions must be ready to accept your mission. Otherwise, it will not work. And that is what he's been suffering.
So it's surprising that he's in Cameroon, yet almost everybody is looking out of Cameroon for a solution. Why don't we recognize what he can do?
Have we even recognized our own food? We have never recognized our own food. We always play the game.
Okay, a true picture of what you are the paperback describes. Yes.
You know,
we are running away from our shadow.
We are running away from our shadow. In fact, to get these illustrations alone took me close to 900,000.
Okay.
Yes, because I kept on insisting what I have in my mind. Even if somebody does not understand from reading, let him understand it from the illustration. And that is exactly what we go through. So a man who every day is crying for peace, yet peace is elusive. And then our pains continue because we don't want to look at the peace. And that is why if you look at the poem 69, which is the last poem of the collection, that says, the night is long. The night is long because they had the agreement, brought us to push the agenda. So to rubber stamp the resolutions, faking a seriousness that keeps all on toes in a tiring ping-pong game, with results obviously monodirectional, where judge is party, prosecutor and defense. It is morning yet, let go. For the night is still long, the orphans still groan in pain, having none of theirs left to suit their unending woes. With balmy words and protection, the lords of the flies agitate, even when it is all certain, to complete the dawning game and crown what they are, great knights of the round table. Grab what we offer. It is dark still, my own, no light in the tunnel.
No light in the tunnel.
The human crisis.
Very black.
Very bleak. That is the state of man. At every moment, you are in a crisis with yourself. But there is hope.
Okay. There is hope that a tomb for Barrister Nico Hale, like you suggest, is going to be made use of in Cameroon and across Africa. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I enjoy this program. Please, I would like to have the book Edith is writing from Boya. Good evening to you. Edith, good evening, Mr. Leo. This is Ojong Tabot watching from Limbe. I would love to have Dr. Agbornduku's number. Thank you. Okay. I'll send it to you. Good evening to you all. Very interesting programs. I want to find out why the author has Nduku in his name. Does he have roots in the northwest region, especially with the Meta people? This is because Nduku is a Meta name. Have a good evening. Okay, I don't know. He has to answer that questions. Minister Liu, do congratulate on my behalf Prof. Agbornduku Eret, an icon and pillar of Ejagham tribe. What a great show. Metro Collins writes in there, Teku. Yes, he's watching. Good evening to you, Met, and we miss you here in the office for some time now. We hope you come back soon. Yes, we're talking about the night is long on gullibility. Who is gullible here?
The African is gullible.
Running away from
his shadow and saying that he's praying to a god. And in the last line of the poem, the poet tells him that for crisis soon may not just be now. He's believing that the only change that will come to his life will only come from Christ. So he's every day saying he's praying to change his state instead of taking an action to be able to build himself. You know, that is gullibility. And if you look at this poem, Crying in the Rain, the work Tomb for Nico Hale and all other peace crusaders are doing in Cameroon and in the world is like somebody crying in the rain. When you cry in the rain, it will be very difficult for somebody to see your tears because the tears flow with the rain water that is washing your face. So, and meanwhile you are desperate. So too, my tears pour down my face. No one sees my pain, sadly expressed in my tears. I can rain. That is the work of a peace crusader in a situation where conflict management becomes impossible. Because you live with the pain that you have not succeeded in doing what you were supposed to do. But if you succeed to reconcile people in a crisis, you go back a happy man. Yes. So the work of a peace crusader is like someone who is crying in the rain. A voice in the wilderness. Nobody.
We're going to be ending at this juncture. Certainly, you have one last word for our televiewers.
Yes,
You're inviting them?
I am inviting the population of Douala and its environs, my now family in Nsah, the education family. I'm inviting the inspector and the officials of the inspectorate in Nsah. I am inviting my Ejagham family in Douala, especially the Ntufam of the Ejagham family in Douala, Mr. Ignatius Assam, Mr. William Kum, Mr. Takem Cletus Ntui, Barrister Kabum, the president of the Osing meeting, and all the Ejagham family meeting groups in Douala. They say that the oil skin of the house is for the skin of the children of the house. This is an effort to reawaken. There is no turning back. I want to thank my children who have always supported me in this endeavor. I thank my wife. I thank especially my cousin Ayuk Alfred, with whose continuous insistence I worked on this. I want to remember my friend SDO Peter Tiende, and all our friends in the writers group, Godi Grace, Kesira, for all the encouragement they gave me to come out with this book. I have promised the world and the Cameroonian public that I am going to give myself into writing. And if I have the means, the 3 volumes of poetry that have already been mounted will be published this year.
Okay, we want to thank you all also who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Thank you to you, Eli, and Desmond for production. Also to you, Tabi, Tom Brian, supervising the work we do out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.